Ever wish you could like predict how people are going to act?
Mm-hmm.
Or understand like their hidden motives?
Mm-hmm.
Or even figure out how to avoid those who, might be trying to manipulate you?
Yeah.
Well, get ready because today we are diving deep, deep into Robert Greene's The Laws of Human Nature to unlock some seriously fascinating insights into, well, being human.
I think Greene's work is so intriguing because he just dives right into those like less rational, sometimes darker sides of human behavior.
Right.
And his argument basically is that to, really navigate the modern world, you kind of have to understand these primal urges that are still sort of bubbling away under the surface,
Okay, yeah, let's unpack that for a sec. I mean, we often think of ourselves as like totally rational beings, but are we?
Right.
I mean, Greene seems to think otherwise.
Yeah, he definitely challenges that assumption.
Yeah.
He points out that our emotions, especially when we're under pressure, can like totally hijack our behavior. It's like our rational mind takes a back seat and we end up, making choices that we later regret.
Yeah.
He calls this high-grade irrationality, and it's a powerful concept to grasp, I think.
So it's like even when we think we're being totally logical, there's all this other stuff going on like subconsciously that's actually driving our decisions.
Exactly. Like Greene, he uses this example of Athenian political figures observed by Pericles.
Uh-huh.
And these were brilliant minds,
Yeah.
convinced of their own rationality, but their actions like constantly led to chaos and self-destruction.
Interesting.
And why? Because beneath the surface, their decisions were actually driven by these like primal emotions, the hunger for power, the need for attention, and let's be honest, money.
Money, yeah. So how do we like avoid falling prey to this high-grade irrationality in our own lives?
Well, I think awareness is key, right?
Yeah.
You need to learn to spot the signs of these intense emotions, both in yourself and in others.
Like,
Like, are you becoming overly reactive?
is your thinking getting, rigid and inflexible?
Okay, yeah.
Are you seeing everything through a lens of, like, anger or fear?
Oh, yeah.
Those are some major red flags.
Red flags.
Yeah, like your emotions might be taking the wheel.
Like when you're in a heated argument and suddenly everything the other person says just feels like a personal attack.
Yes.
It's almost impossible to think clearly in those moments.
Exactly. And that's when it's, like, crucial to take a step back,
Yeah.
Cool down and try to de-escalate the situation.
Yeah.
Remember those emotionally charged moments, you're like most susceptible to doing something impulsive, that you'll probably regret later.
Right.
Yeah.
So by recognizing those moments of high-grade irrationality in ourselves, we can like actually make more conscious, deliberate choices instead of just reacting.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, recognizing it in others can, help you understand their behavior and maybe even avoid getting swept up in their emotional turmoil. Okay, so we've talked about like this irrationality thing, but Greene also dives into another really interesting concept, the shadow. So what exactly is he talking about there?
So the shadow, it's basically like the hidden side of our personality, right? It's that part of us where we repress all those, darker desires, impulses, or traits that we deem unacceptable.
Right.
The stuff we don't want to admit to ourselves, let alone show the world.
So it's like the stuff we try to keep hidden, like deep down in our subconscious.
You got it. We all want to present a certain image to the world,
Right.
And the shadow is where we kind of bury all the things that don't fit that, carefully crafted persona.
And according to Greene, this can result in some pretty contradictory behavior, right?
Absolutely. Think about those people you've met who seem like almost too nice, too confident. Or maybe they have this kind of saintly aura around them,
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Well, Greene suggests those are often the folks with shadows that directly contradict their outward persona.
Oh, interesting.
They might actually be harboring a lot of like insecurity or envy or even aggression beneath the surface.
Wow.
Which they desperately try to keep hidden.
So how do we learn to like spot this shadow, both in ourselves and in others? Are there any telltale signs?
Yeah. Greene advises paying close attention to inconsistencies in behavior.
Okay.
Like, do their actions actually match their words?
Mm-hmm.
Are there moments when their mask seems to slip and you catch a glimpse of something, darker beneath?
Yeah.
Those can be clues that a shadow is at play.
Okay, so recognizing the shadow can give us like a more realistic, a more, three-dimensional view of ourselves and the people around us.
Exactly. It helps you understand those, contradictions in behavior and see people for who they really are, complexities and all.
Now let's talk about a personality type that we see like everywhere these days.
Hmm.
Narcissists. And Green has a lot to say about the allure and danger they present.
Narcissism is, yeah, it's definitely a topic that deserves a deep dive.
Right.
And Green emphasizes that it, exists on a spectrum.
Right.
Healthy self-love is, of course, essential, right?
Right. Of course.
But toxic narcissism, on the other hand, that can wreak havoc in people's lives.
And he uses the compelling story of Howard Hughes to illustrate this.
Hmm.
Hughes was like incredibly charismatic, achieved tremendous success, but ultimately self-destructed due to his deep insecurities.
Yeah, Hughes is a classic example of a grandiose narcissist. They create these elaborate illusions to maintain their inflated self-image.
Right.
And they can be incredibly charming and persuasive.
Yeah.
At least at first.
And Green actually breaks down like 6 common illusions that these grandiose narcissists create to like prop themselves up,
Uh-huh.
which I think is incredibly helpful for recognizing and maybe resisting their allure.
It's all about becoming aware of their tactics. Like, do they constantly talk about their special destiny? Do they surround themselves with admirers, but discard anyone who challenges their self-image?
Oh, yeah.
Are they obsessed with appearances and projecting an image of like perfection?
Oh, yeah.
These are all red flags.
So it's not about becoming a master manipulator ourselves, but just like being aware of these tendencies
Right.
so we can avoid getting caught in their web.
Exactly. Just being aware of these narcissistic tendencies can help you protect yourself and avoid becoming a pawn in their game.
Okay, so we've covered the power of irrationality, the shadow, and the complexities of narcissism.
Right.
But Green, he doesn't stop there. He also explores the topic of aggression.
Hmm.
And it's so fascinating that, even in our supposedly civilized world, this primal force is still such a powerful driver of human behavior.
Absolutely. And what's interesting is that Green argues that suppressing all aggression can actually be detrimental.
Really?
Yeah, he believes we need to learn to harness this energy in a productive way.
He actually suggests that suppressing aggression can stifle creativity.
Mm-hmm.
It's like instead of denying this primal urge,
Yeah.
we need to learn to like tame it and train it for pro-social purposes.
Think about it. We admire assertiveness, drive, and the ability to like take action.
Yeah.
These are all expressions of aggression, but channeled constructively.
So how do we learn to tame this inner warrior?
Green suggests starting by observing your own behavior, particularly in the workplace.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself pushing for power or reacting defensively to challenges? Recognizing these patterns is the first step toward channeling aggression in a healthier way.
It's about like becoming more self-aware and finding constructive outlets for this energy.
Exactly. It's not about denying our aggression. It's about understanding it and learning to use it as a force for good.
Okay, so Green is encouraging us to tame our inner warrior. But he also dives into this whole social dynamic of power and influence.
Yeah.
And he uses this fascinating metaphor of the court to illustrate his point.
It's a brilliant way to understand that intricate web of relationships, hierarchies, and power plays that exist in pretty much every social environment.
Oh, for sure.
Whether it's the office or your social circle or even your family, there's always a court dynamic at play.
Always.
Yeah.
And he identifies these really engaging archetypes like the jester, the rebel, and the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Each playing a specific role in this court dynamic.
Recognizing these archetypes can be so helpful in like decoding the power struggles and alliances that are happening all around you.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like you suddenly have this secret decoder ring for human behavior.
Yeah, totally. So even if we don't want to become like master manipulators, understanding these dynamics can help us avoid being manipulated ourselves.
Precisely. It's about being aware of the game so you can choose how you want to play or even choose not to play at all. Green gives you the tools to become a more conscious player in the court of human interaction.
Okay, so we're learning to tame our aggression, navigate the court, but Greene also emphasizes the importance of finding our true purpose.
Yeah, this is where his work goes beyond just understanding human behavior and delves into, that universal search for meaning.
Right.
He argues that we're often drawn to false purposes that, that promise fulfillment but ultimately lead to emptiness and frustration.
And he gives some really specific examples of these false purposes. Like he mentions things like the pursuit of money for its own sake, blind group identification, and constantly chasing after love and attention.
These are all traps, really. They seem seductive on the surface, but they rarely deliver on their promises.
So how do we avoid these traps
Yeah.
and find a sense of purpose that truly resonates?
Greene emphasizes aligning your purpose with your unique skills and passions. He suggests finding mentors who can guide you, being wary of distractions, and avoiding what he calls hyperintention.
Hyperintention. What is that?
So Greene noticed that when we desperately want or need something, it often eludes us.
Yeah.
It's like when you're trying too hard to fall asleep and you just end up feeling more awake.
Oh yeah, I totally get that.
Well, Greene believes this applies to our sense of purpose as well.
Okay.
When you become too fixated on finding it, it can actually become harder to recognize.
Hmm.
He suggests focusing on the process, like developing your skills, pursuing what genuinely interests you, and allowing your purpose to kind of emerge organically from those pursuits.
So it's more about trusting the journey and not getting too caught up in the destination.
Exactly. And that can be so challenging in a world that's, constantly bombarding you with messages about what you should be striving for.
For sure.
But Greene reminds us that true purpose comes from within, not from external validation or societal expectations.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground already. Irrationality, the shadow, narcissism, aggression, and the importance of finding our true purpose. But there's still so much more to unpack in Greene's work.
Definitely. Yeah, we've only just scratched the surface. Greene's book is like packed with insights, and one that I find particularly relevant is his exploration of gender roles and how they, influence our behavior. It's something we all grapple with, whether we realize it or not.
I'm really curious to hear more about this. It feels like there's so much like societal pressure to conform to these, certain ideas of masculinity and femininity.
Greene, he challenges us to examine those like deeply ingrained beliefs.
Hmm.
He argues that we all possess both masculine and feminine qualities, but societal pressures often push us to over-identify with one or the other.
And it kind of limits us, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like we're only accessing half of our potential.
Exactly. We end up like putting ourselves in these boxes and denying, whole aspects of who we are.
Right.
Greene uses a fascinating example to illustrate his point. Caterina Sforza, a powerful figure in Renaissance Italy.
Caterina Sforza.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I'm not familiar with her story.
Well, she was a woman who defied all expectations. She embraced both her masculine and feminine traits, becoming a skilled warrior, a loving mother, and a cunning political strategist. She was a true powerhouse.
Sounds like an incredible role model.
Yeah.
But how do we apply this to our own lives? I mean, it's one thing to, admire historical figures, but how do we actually reconnect with those repressed masculine or feminine qualities within ourselves?
Well, it starts with awareness. Greene encourages you to observe your own behavior and notice where you might be, over-identifying with a particular gender role. Like, are you suppressing your assertiveness because it doesn't fit your image of, femininity, or maybe you're denying your nurturing side because it feels too, soft for a man. These are the kinds of questions to ask yourself.
It's like we've all internalized these societal scripts about how we're supposed to act, and sometimes we don't even realize it.
That's exactly it. But the more aware you become of these, ingrained patterns, the more you can choose to act differently.
Yeah.
Greene believes that reclaiming those repressed qualities can unlock tremendous creativity and lead to more fulfilling relationships.
So it's about becoming more whole, more authentically ourselves.
Absolutely. And it's a journey that, that can take a lifetime, but it's definitely a journey worth taking. It's about embracing all the different, facets of yourself, both masculine and feminine, and allowing yourself to express those qualities in a way that feels authentic to you.
That's a powerful idea. Okay, so we're learning to embrace the dance of gender.
Yeah.
But Greene also tackles another big topic, the wisdom of time.
Hmm.
And this is where things get a bit more existential.
Yeah, you're right. Here, Greene, he explores the inevitability of aging and ultimately death. He doesn't, shy away from these universal experiences,
Right.
but he also offers insights into how we can learn to manage our anxieties about them.
One of the examples that really resonated with me was the story of Flannery O'Connor.
Hmm.
Despite facing a debilitating illness and a shortened lifespan, she found incredible strength and purpose in her writing.
O'Connor's story is a powerful reminder that even in the face of, adversity, you have the power to choose how you respond.
Yeah,
Instead of like succumbing to despair, she used her remaining time to create a lasting legacy.
and Green suggests that we can all cultivate this kind of long-term perspective, even if we're not, facing a terminal illness.
Right.
So what does that look like in a practical sense?
Well, it's about shifting your focus from the immediacy of, everyday anxieties to a more expansive view of time.
Hmm.
Green encourages you to cultivate meaningful relationships, connect with future generations through creative endeavors, and find ways to make a positive impact on the world. Think of it as leaving your mark.
It's like that saying, plant a tree under whose shade you do not expect to sit.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that your actions have like ripple effects that extend, beyond your own lifespan.
Right.
And that can be incredibly empowering, especially in a world that often feels, fixated on instant gratification and short-term thinking.
So by shifting our perspective and embracing a longer view of time,
Yeah.
we can find a deeper sense of purpose and meaning in our lives.
That's the idea. It's about recognizing that, your life is a part of something much larger,
Hmm.
a story that continues long after you're gone.
Yeah.
And that realization can bring a profound sense of peace and purpose.
Now, Green also dives into a concept that's a bit unsettling, but incredibly thought-provoking.
Hmm.
The idea that we all have this like set character formed from elements that predate our conscious awareness.
Right.
It's like we're all operating from this pre-programmed script.
Yeah, it's a fascinating concept, isn't it?
Yeah.
He suggests that this character, this, deeply ingrained pattern of behavior compels us to repeat certain actions, strategies, and decisions throughout our lives, almost like a default setting.
So does that mean we're all just like robots, following our programming? That sounds a bit deterministic, doesn't it?
Well, Green doesn't believe we're completely powerless.
Okay.
He suggests that while your character might, predispose you towards certain behaviors, you also have the capacity to become aware of these patterns and make conscious choices. Like you have the power to rewrite the script or at least make some critical edits.
I like that, the power to edit our own script. He also introduces this concept of the superior character,
Yeah.
which seems to be about, taking ownership of our nature and striving for self-mastery.
Exactly. It's about becoming more conscious of your actions, understanding the motivations behind them, and choosing to act in alignment with your higher self.
Yeah.
Green provides some valuable strategies for developing this superior character, like cultivating self-awareness, learning to manage your emotions, and finding constructive outlets for that aggressive energy we talked about earlier. It's all connected.
So it's a lifelong process of self-discovery and refinement,
Yeah.
constantly working to become the best version of ourselves.
That's a great way to put it. And Green doesn't sugarcoat it. He acknowledges that it's hard work,
Yeah.
But he also believes it's essential for living a more, fulfilling and meaningful life.
It's like we're all works in progress, constantly evolving and refining our character.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're learning to rewrite the script, to become more conscious of our character. But Green also delves into something that feels incredibly relevant in today's world.
Mm.
Envy. It's
Yeah.
like this primal emotion that just runs rampant in our hyper-connected, social media-driven world.
Envy is definitely a powerful force, and it's something that Green explores in depth. He's interested in both its destructive power and the ways we can learn to manage it. He argues that while envy is a natural human emotion, it becomes toxic when it consumes us and leads to destructive behaviors.
And he actually breaks down different types of envious people,
Mm.
which I think is super helpful for recognizing those those patterns in ourselves and others.
He talks about the leveler who tries to, bring down anyone who seems to have more than them. Then there's the status fiend who's obsessed with appearances and constantly comparing themselves to others.
And then there's a stalker who becomes fixated on the object of their envy, sometimes to an unhealthy degree. It's like a whole taxonomy of envy.
It is, and Green offers some really valuable strategies for dealing with these, different types of envious behavior, both when it's directed at you and when you find yourself, caught in its grip.
So what are some of the antidotes to envy? How can we manage this powerful emotion so it doesn't control us?
Green emphasizes recognizing your own envious tendencies, finding healthy outlets for your competitive energy, and most importantly, focusing on your own path rather than getting, caught up in comparing yourself to others.
It's about realizing that someone else's success doesn't, diminish your own.
Exactly. It's about shifting your mindset from scarcity to abundance, recognizing that there's enough success and happiness to go around.
Hmm.
Green actually believes that envy can be a catalyst for growth if you can learn to manage it constructively. It can be a source of motivation to improve yourself and achieve your own goals.
That's a really interesting perspective. So we're learning to tame our envy, cultivate a superior character, navigate the complexities of gender and time. But Green also tackles something essential for anyone who wants to understand human behavior, the art of persuasion and influence.
This is where his work becomes incredibly practical. He dives into the psychology of influence, exploring how we can ethically, motivate and persuade others. It's about understanding what makes people tick.
He argues that the key to persuasion is understanding people's self-interest and their need to feel, validated.
Right. It's not about manipulating people. It's about appealing to their deeper desires and motivations.
Mm.
Green emphasizes lowering people's resistance, making them feel, secure and understood, and tailoring your communication to their specific values and beliefs.
He uses that fascinating example of the therapist Milton Erickson,
Yeah.
who's a master of persuasion.
Mm.
Erickson would often use indirect suggestions and metaphors to bypass people's conscious resistance and access their subconscious mind.
It's like a form of hypnotic communication, but used ethically to help people, overcome their limitations and achieve their goals.
Right.
It's about meeting people where they are and guiding them toward positive change.
So are you saying we can all develop these persuasive skills?
Mm.
I mean, not to become, master manipulators, but to communicate more effectively and build stronger relationships.
Absolutely. It's about becoming more attuned to the needs and motivations of others, learning to speak their language, and finding ways to connect on a deeper level. It's a skill that can benefit you in all areas of your life.
Okay, so we're learning to persuade, to understand the power of envy, and to navigate the complexities of our own character. But Green also dives into something that's been a driving force throughout, human history.
Mm-hmm.
This desire to feel like part of a group.
Yeah.
It's like this primal need for belonging and connection that we all share.
You're right. Green, he argues that this tribal instinct, this desire to form groups and identify with others is deeply ingrained in our nature. And he explores both the positive and negative aspects of this instinct, highlighting how it can lead to both, incredible collaboration and destructive conflict. It's a double-edged sword, really.
He uses the fascinating example of Mao Zedong, who was a master of, harnessing group dynamics, albeit in a very, controversial way.
Yeah, Mao understood the power of creating a shared enemy, instilling a sense of purpose, and using ritual and symbolism to unite his followers. His methods were often, ruthless, but they were undeniably effective.
So what can we learn from these examples? Obviously not to become dictators, but to understand how group dynamics work and how we can, leverage them ethically.
Exactly. Green provides some valuable insights into building strong, cohesive groups.
Okay.
It's about establishing, clear goals, creating a sense of shared identity, and finding ways to make members feel, valued and appreciated.
It's about fostering a sense of belonging
Yeah.
and creating a culture of collaboration
Yeah.
where everyone feels like they're part of something, larger than themselves.
Precisely. And that sense of belonging can be incredibly, powerful, motivating people to work together toward a common goal.
Yeah,
But as you mentioned, there's also a darker side to this tribal instinct.
right.
Hmm.
Greene also explores that side, doesn't he? He warns against blind group identification,
Yeah.
emphasizing the importance of critical thinking and questioning authority, even when it comes from, within the group.
He does. He argues that when you become too, attached to a group, you can lose your sense of individuality and become susceptible to manipulation. It's
Hmm.
it's about maintaining a healthy balance between, belonging and independent thought.
And he uses that intriguing metaphor of the court again
Mm.
to describe the complex dynamics of power and influence within groups. It's like every group has its own, court with its own set of rules and hierarchies.
Exactly. He talks about the jester who uses humor to entertain and deflect attention,
Hmm.
the rebel who challenges the status quo and pushes boundaries,
Yeah.
and the mirror who gains favor by reflecting back the leader's own, beliefs and values.
Hmm.
Recognizing these archetypes can be so helpful in understanding the power plays and alliances that are constantly at work within groups.
It's like decoding the secret language of group dynamics.
It is, and once you understand the language, you can start to navigate these dynamics more effectively. It's about
Well,
becoming aware of the game, so you can, choose how you want to play, or even choose not to play at all.
so we're learning to navigate the court, to understand the complexities of group dynamics.
Mm.
But Greene also dives into something that's essential for anyone who, wants to make their mark on the world,
Mm.
the art of leadership.
This is where his work goes beyond just understanding human behavior and delves into the qualities that make a truly effective leader.
Right.
He argues that leadership is not about, wielding power over others. It's about inspiring and motivating them to achieve a shared vision.
It's about empowering others, not controlling them.
Exactly. He emphasizes the importance of building trust, communicating effectively, and understanding the needs and motivations of your followers.
Right.
He also explores the concept of authority and how it can be both, earned and lost.
He argues that true authority comes from a combination of competence, character, and charisma. It's not something you can just demand. It's something you have to earn through your actions and your integrity.
Right. And he provides some really insightful strategies for developing these leadership qualities.
Okay.
It's about cultivating self-awareness, honing your communication skills, and learning to inspire others with your vision.
It's about becoming the kind of leader people want to follow, not because they have to, but because they're inspired by your example and believe in your vision.
Right.
It's leadership by inspiration, not by force.
Exactly. It's about creating a shared sense of purpose and empowering others to achieve their full potential.
This has been a fascinating exploration of leadership and group dynamics.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to hear what else Greene has to say about the masks we wear and the deeper forces that shape our behavior.
Yeah, we've been talking a lot about, how we interact with others, but Greene also dives into something even more personal, the masks we wear to hide our true selves.
Right.
He argues that we all craft these personas to, fit in, get approval, or protect ourselves from judgment.
It's like we're all actors on a stage playing a role instead of just, being ourselves.
Yeah, and it can be exhausting to keep up that act. Greene explores the different types of masks people wear.
Mm-hmm.
There's the saintly mask, projecting an image of moral superiority, or the tough guy mask that hides vulnerability and fear. We've probably all, encountered these types.
So how do we learn to see through these masks, both in ourselves and others? Are there any clues
Greene suggests paying close attention to those nonverbal cues.
Okay.
Like notice inconsistencies between someone's words and their actions.
Hmm.
Look for signs of tension or discomfort. Those little hints that might, betray the mess they're trying so hard to hold up.
It's like becoming a detective of human behavior. We need to learn to read between the lines and see beyond the surface.
Exactly. And Greene also talks about the importance of learning to drop our own masks, to become more comfortable with our true selves, even the parts we might not like.
That sounds kind of scary, but also, incredibly liberating.
It is. It's a process of self-acceptance and vulnerability. Greene believes that when we can, let go of the need to project this perfect image, we can form deeper, more authentic connections with others.
Think about embracing our imperfections and recognizing that they're often what make us, unique and interesting.
Absolutely. Greene reminds us that trying to be someone we're not is a recipe for unhappiness. True connection comes from authenticity.
Okay, so we're learning to drop the mask, to be more authentically ourselves. But Greene also explores, those primal emotions that drive so much of our behavior, especially that irrationality that we talked about earlier, that often underlies our, seemingly rational decisions.
He's challenging the idea that we're as rational as we like to think. Our emotions, particularly when we're stressed, can totally hijack our behavior, leading us to make impulsive choices that we later regret.
It's like that example he gives of Athenian political figures.
Right.
They all thought they were being rational, but their actions often led to like chaos and self-destruction. It's a pattern that seems to repeat itself throughout history.
And at the root of those destructive decisions were these like deep-seated emotions. The hunger for power, the need for attention, the fear of loss. These primal forces can be incredibly powerful.
So how do we avoid falling prey to this irrationality in our own lives? How do we prevent our emotions from leading us down the wrong path?
Well, Greene emphasizes the importance of self-awareness. We need to learn to recognize the signs that our emotions are getting the better of us.
Right.
Are we becoming overly reactive? Is our thinking becoming rigid? Are we seeing everything through a lens of, fear or anger?
Right.
These are all warnings that our emotions might be taking over.
So it's about learning to pause and check in with ourselves before reacting.
Exactly. And he provides some practical strategies for managing these emotions.
Okay.
Taking a step back from the situation, practicing mindfulness, finding healthy outlets for stress and anxiety. It's about developing that emotional intelligence so we can respond to situations with, more awareness and intention.
This has been an incredible deep dive into Robert Greene's The Laws of Human Nature. We've explored so much: the power of irrationality, the masks we wear, the complexities of gender and time, the art of leadership and persuasion, the dynamics of group behavior, and the importance of finding our true purpose.
And we've really only scratched the surface. This book is packed with insights that can be, revisited again and again. It's a guide to understanding ourselves and the people around us.
So what's the final takeaway for our listeners? What do we hope they'll remember from this deep dive?
Understanding human nature is a lifelong pursuit.
It is.
There's always more to learn and more to, discover about ourselves and the people around us. It's a journey of continuous self-discovery.
Yeah, Greene is giving us tools, not answers. It's up to each of us to use these tools to continue exploring this, fascinating, complex thing we call human nature.
Keep observing, keep questioning, and keep peeling back those layers. The deeper you dive, the more you'll discover.
And on that note, we'll leave you with this final thought. Now that you've glimpsed the hidden forces shaping human behavior, how will you apply this knowledge to your own life? Which insights resonated with you the most, and what questions do you still have? Remember, understanding human nature is a journey, not a destination.
Right.
So keep diving deeper.